So it's 11:30 in the morning in November, and it's nice and bright in here, even with the monoflex on still. It is pretty bright and airy, so I'm quite pleased with that. Got monoflex front and back. Now I've finished doing the aluminium flashings, the lead soakers. I have finished doing all of the outside jobs, bar a couple, and I'm just waiting for bits to arrive. So I'm waiting for the insulation to arrive at around lunchtime, whatever that is. So what I think I'm going to start doing is drilling out the holes to run the cabling that's going to run, because we want the bed over here and we want to have lighting there, so we can run the lighting cable up in the joist and down and along and kind of discreetly hide it. In order to do that, I've obviously got to notch out, drill out parts of the stud work to kind of then run the cabling down, so I can drill a hole through there and drop it down through that and then tack it to here, so that we can have the light switch. And what I'll probably do is tack it and come along and down there, so the light switch is just around there. For the flooring, the 2.5mm twin and earth cabling for the plug sockets, they're going to be dotted around the room. That's going to run down the staircase, underneath the bottom of the staircase, down and round, down into the consumer unit. So I go down the new staircase, then it will go under the floorboards in the hallway, under the floorboards under there, and it will meet up with the other cables that are, there's a junction area there with all the other cables, and then I'll pocket it under the staircase and down, because the consumer unit's just down under that little quarter landing there. So I've got quite a lot of cable to run. What I'll do is I will run, so lighting works on a radial. What that means is you have 1.5mm twin and earth, or 1mm if you're only ever going to be running LEDs, and there aren't that many of them. But I'm going to put 1.5mm on, because that's what I've bought, and because it just makes sense to have as much load capacity on the wire as you can. What a radial means is it runs from the consumer unit up and then just kind of branches out and stops, whereas you'll have heard of your ring main, which is literally a ring, so it runs from the consumer unit. That's your 2.5mm twin and earth for your plug sockets, and that comes up, and there'll be a cable coming out, and then there'll be a cable going back in and around, cable coming out, cable going back in and around. So there is effectively one loop all the way around the room, or all the way around the floor, and then back down. So you have two cables into your consumer unit for your plug sockets, and those two cables, that one in, one out, they will be for one ring. Sometimes that ring could be a whole floor, sometimes it could be a whole room. Most of the time you'll have it per floor. Whereas for lighting, you will get the lighting that comes off as a radial, so it doesn't come out of the consumer unit and then go back into the consumer unit. So what I will do is I will run it, and then I will just leave all of the excess on the cable. So I'll spool it out as where I need it, and leave the spool there and run it round. And then you can have connections in the cable. It doesn't have to be. In America, they kind of call it a home run, where you don't make any cuts. Often they talk about that in piping, actually. But you can have it with connections, because obviously every single plug socket is in theory a connection, because you've cut the wire, you've got the two wires coming out, you wire it into the back of the two gang or one gang plug socket, whatever it may be, and then the wire carries on. So you can cut it, and you can terminate the wire, you can connect it up with chock block or Wagos. I prefer Wago clips, because they're just a heck of a lot quicker and easier. So that's what I'll start doing now. I'll start drilling out some holes. Now the holes, where do the holes need to be? The holes have to be a minimum of 50mm, so 5 centimeters from the top of the joist, and a minimum of 50mm from the bottom of the joist. So you've got a little window there. If you're only using a small stud, then you've got to go right in the middle, and it's got to be a fairly small hole. In this instance, I've got 2x9, so I've got quite a lot of depth, and 5 centimeters isn't actually that much. It's kind of there, so I can drill a hole. Actually, I don't even need to drill a hole. This first one can just be tucked under the steel.